Hey guys, Booligan here with Booligan Shooting Sports. I had the pleasure of being invited out to InRange TV's Handgun Brutality match. If you don't know about brutality matches, they generally combine some sort of interesting physical activity with practical shooting, and a lot of times with sort of fun themes. Handgun Brutality is a little bit special in that it's not a two-gun or a three-gun competition, it's strictly handguns. They actually invited me out in order to design and build a custom gun just for the competition. The full video of that is actually featured on their channel. That's not the gun that I ended up running in the competition for a couple of reasons. I ended up running a Canik MC9 METE, M-E-T-E, don't know how to say that. And this was actually my first time shooting the gun completely. Took it out of the box, threw an optic on it, didn't zero it, ran it in the match. So this is an interesting training exercise on a new gun, a new shooter, never shot a match like this before, just to see how I did. I'll be presenting this in the order of the actual stages, and I believe I started on stage 7, which that's not what we're looking at now. This is just a little B-roll of actually the final stage, which was a lot of fun, which we'll talk about at the end of the video. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at the first stage for me, which was stage 7, and is called Aliens, and of course is designed around the movie Aliens. In this stage, you start with a stage gun. In this case, a H&K, just like from the movie. So you get one shot, one attempt, and now you're crawling through the ducts. You draw your weapon and you put, I believe it was 5 rounds on the large xenomorph steel target and 1 round on the face hugger. You cannot break the tape, so you're crawling through this and you can only shoot through the vents. So a lot of crawling, a lot of interesting shooting positions. Figuring out my reloads. Reminder, that was literally the first time I ever shot this gun, and frankly the first time I'd actually seriously shot a handgun in almost a year due to recovering from a hand injury. Just getting a feel for it. My biggest limitation, as we will find out throughout this match, was realistically with magazine capacity and shooting with an unzeroed optic. I probably should have just made an on-the-fly adjustment between stages, but when it's sort of working, you don't want to mess it up. Second stage was Your Move Creep, and was inspired obviously by RoboCop. You had to move from box to box, shooting multiple times at the large targets, and then doing one shot on each of the small targets. You'll notice, like RoboCop, you have to shoot with your hand up. You have to shoot... you could do full RoboCop stance if you wanted, like I was attempting to do, but you had to keep that hand above your head. You had to shoot from each of the 4 boxes. Here's where you can see I'm kind of chasing my Kentucky windage in a little bit, which was giving me occasional issues on some of the small targets. But shooting this one-handed, there were no, limp wrist concerns or anything like that. The pistol ran flawlessly the entire match. I think I had 1 failure to feed at one point. Once you clear all of those, you then move. Doesn't have to move through the gate, but you have to engage the balls of the steel target, which I did hit, punched through. This next stage is a fistful of dollars. It starts with a long shot on steel, which I made. You only get 1 attempt. Then you have to drag this weighted sled through the dirt to certain points in which you engage the steel targets on either side with 2 rounds each. 2 on the right there out of frame. This was all filmed on a chest cam, which I learned is not the best way to get this footage. Careful not to break the 180 roll here. 2 there, reload. Need to work on getting my reloads a little bit quicker. 2 targets on the other side there. Continually dragging this heavy sled. Now, engaging a few more targets. Now you have to alternate shots on the dueling tree and the spinner. 1 on the dueling tree, 1 on the spinner. You have to do this 6 times. Once you've done that 6 times, you then have to either spin the spinner or get 9 shots on the spinner. So basically this is, if this were a perfect run for this small segment, this would be 15 rounds. And it was not a perfect run for me. I did not even attempt to spin the spinner. I just quickly put 9 rounds on it as fast as possible and moved along with the stage. This one was a lot of fun. It was inspired by the video game, which name I cannot remember, Lucky and Wild. So you actually had to drive to the targets, take them each out, drop every target, and this is where I had the biggest issue. Some of these steel targets were not calibrated particularly well for my 115 grain low velocity short barreled compact carry handgun here. The compact carry division is an interesting one because first off, there weren't a lot of shooters. I think there were only like 6 shooters in the whole event in compact carry, because it is hard to physically meet the restriction for compact carry. But that loss of velocity actually really hurt me on this stage with some of the targets in that last section. Like one of those targets, I think it put like 8 rounds into it. Great placement right at the top, and the thing just would not drop. The biggest issue that I had realistically through most of this match was ammo capacity. Brought 4 magazines with me, 2 12s and 2 15s, and I needed another magazine or 2. I actually, unfortunately, on this stage realize I'm missing a lot of shots. There are a lot of targets, and I need to just focus on the targets that I know will drop when I hit them. And I racked up a fair number of penalties because I basically dumped almost an entire mag into one target to get it to drop. And I ended the stage with an acceptable time, but unfortunately, a lot of penalties for missed targets because I ran out of ammo. Now, I did not get stage 5. My camera didn't record and I didn't have anybody backing me up. So now we're going to jump ahead to my next stage, which is the infamous Casarda drill. You're shooting from a VTAC at a target roughly 75 yards away. Once you make your hit, you put your gun in the box, pick up a 50-pound kettlebell, and yeet it. Behold the raw athleticism. This is a reminder that I need to get in a little bit better shape. Once you move it from one side to the other, you choose a different shooting position in the VTAC and get your hits in. This little gun surprised the hell out of me by how well it performed. Being able to generally land shots within 2 to 3 rounds was impressive out of this tiny little, micro compact handgun. 1 round shot at 75 yards with an unzeroed optic. Getting pretty smoked here. There's a lot of fat me to move around. Got it in the box. Now you have to pick again another one. You have to complete this a total of 6 times. A note about the stage prior to this, it was called Terminator, and you had to move with a prop of a bag full of bombs, which is always exciting. And, once you move your bag full of bombs, you have to throw a bomb, engaging targets along the way. I wish I had video of it, but my camera just was not working. But that one was a lot of fun. I'm just trying to chase it, just trying to get those shots on target. This was one I knew I was going to struggle with. Long-range shots out of a micro-compact pistol are always tricky, especially a generally untested micro-compact pistol. Reminder that I have not shot this gun at all before this match. Moving to the last one, I am completely obliterated. I'm starting to get hot down in St. George.
Plenty of time, you got this. Go urban prone. There you go.
Go urban prone, fire from the dust. Now I had been adjusting my shots with Kentucky windage for most of this time. Well, now I'm shooting rotated 90 degrees and trying to do some calculations in my head as far as what I needed to correct to get on target. Knowing there's a ticking clock behind me, knowing I was probably going to time out on the stage. RO's watching very closely the time. and I get the hit. Next stage is Time Crisis. This one was an exercise in reloading. You're not going to see much, but I'm shooting at steel around a barricade, and you can only reload during the barricade, or behind the barricade. You only get, I believe it was 10 seconds, either 10 or 15 seconds, to engage a number of targets, and then you have to move, regardless of whether you finished that run of targets or not. Now you have to reload. It is a mandatory reload. Engaging the targets again. Either you shoot until you hit them all, or until you hit the timer. That stage, I hit them all. Now moving over, and again, you have to start with a reload, just like Time Crisis. Little Canik is just doing what it is supposed to, running perfectly reliably and accurately to what it was needing to do. If I had zeroed that optic beforehand, I would not be chasing some of these shots like I ended up doing. This is, after this stage, is really where the technical difficulty ramped up, and I'm having a firearm that was not zeroed posed some real issues for me. This stage was called A Hunter Should Hunt Beasts, and it was inspired by a video game which I do not remember. You'll see the blues, which are your shoots, and the reds, which are your no-shoots. If you shoot a no-shoot target, you have an option. There's a steel target there in the corner that you get one shot on it. If you happen to hit it, then the penalty for your no-shoot is erased. Some of these targets are very, very close together, and it was actually very hard to get shots on it. I only was carrying, I want to say 54 rounds on my person. Yeah, 54 rounds, and this was a very target-rich environment. And the RO was actually assisting by tossing my spent mags back to the rest of my squad, who are an awesome group of guys. The squad really makes the event. And they were topping off my mags for me and sticking them back in my belt, so that even if I ran dry on all 4 mags that I was carrying, I would have magically replenishing mags for my Canik. So teamwork makes the dream work. These guys helped out a ton on stages like this, which were very, very ammo intensive. I had a ton of issues in this stage. I had a ton of no shoots that I was not able to clear, mainly because I was not shooting smoothly, and mainly because I wasn't able to then clear those targets on that steel in the corner. So unfortunately, this one was a big learning exercise in what not to do, and ensuring that your equipment is properly zeroed beforehand. Just trying to clean up some of those last steel poppers without hitting too many of the no shoots, and unfortunately did hit part-time on that one. This next stage is Carnival, and you have to start by spinning a couple targets and then moving to this wobbly platform with a holstered firearm. Get on this wobbly platform, and now you can see ahead of me targets of opportunity. On the left, you have a row of knockdown steel. You are only shooting the back targets. The front targets are no shoots. I think I did get one or two no shoots on there. But your goal is to basically drop every target in stage in whatever order you'd like. Then tackling the Death Star, which thankfully, by taking those other targets first, the Death Star was able to kind of calm down a little bit. There are 2 poppers behind the Death Star, which are no shoots, and you get penalties for hitting. Cleared the Death Star not too bad. Actually, a lot better than I thought I was going to, having never faced a Texas Star or a Death Star before. Then have to do the Polish Rack, which does some really fun, interesting movements when you are, taking off the various targets. I start to rush. My RO reminds me, slow down, hit the targets. You have limited ammo. This was another stage where my squad mates were assisting with ammo. And once you clear the Polish rack, you have to spin the spinner. There's no 9 shots and you're done. You have to spin the spinner. And I'm just trying to kind of get my rhythm going. If you fail to spin the spinner, that is a 60-second penalty. It's a huge one to miss. Getting my timing, getting my rhythm. Get a little sloppy and run out of time. Last stage of the day, hard-boiled. You have to suppress down the hallway with 3 shots in every movement. Then you are clearing the rooms of targets. This was another ammo-intensive stage. A perfect run of this was 33 rounds. Reminder, I had 54 on deck. You cannot reload in the hallway. You have to suppress in the hallway. You have to get those shots in the hallway. So ammo management was critical for this one. There was not a good way for my squad mates to assist with reloads. So I had to make my shots count as much as possible. Those 15-round mags drain pretty quick. In order to fit my class, my division, I had to start with a 12-rounder. The first magazine had to be the smaller magazine. And then I would switch to the 215s, and my last backup mag was the last 12-rounder. Clean these up fairly well. Again, the Canik is doing its job very, very well. The end of the stage is a little fun. You can't see it unless you remember from the beginning, but I had a shotgun on my back. So now you have to finish cleaning up these targets in front. Once all of the little poppers are done, gun goes in the box, and you have to take that 12 gauge and load it from a shell that you are carrying on your person and get a shot on the big guy. So overall, this was a hell of a lot of fun. It was a great match. It was fun to learn what my deficiencies are. It was fun to learn a new platform as I was shooting. In my class, I finished almost last. Basically, one guy in my division disqualified, kept me from being last place. However, overall, in the full competition, I did a lot better than I thought I was going to do. I think I placed 75th out of over 100 shooters, for not having handled a handgun, in a practical shoot, for never running a match like this, for being in terrible shape with no practice and shooting a brand new gun. I actually think that I did pretty damn well. I'm pretty impressed with myself. Many thanks again to InRange TV for inviting me out. I wish I was able to run the gun that I built for this competition, but I had holster production issues, as well as just some ammo issues as well, getting it to run reliably with the 115 that I brought instead of the 124 that it needed. But I will definitely be doing more matches like this. I'll definitely be getting out to more Brutality matches. They're fun themes, they're a fun time, and a great group of guys. Thanks for watching.